Chosen one. Stop scrolling. Heaven has interrupted your moment. Everything around you pauses for a reason. The clock of eternity ticks differently when God has something to say directly to your spirit. This is that moment. The air feels heavier, not with fear, but with divine weight, because the words you are about to hear are not random. They are the sound of destiny calling your name. Listen carefully. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. There are billions of people on this planet, yet this message found you. Right now, in this exact hour. Why? Because heaven has something to release into your life. Every delay, every heartbreak, every closed door. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You were being hidden, not forgotten. The delay was preparation for divine manifestation. You've been asking questions in the quiet. Lord, do you still see me? Do you still have a plan for me? The answer is yes. Heaven has been watching you when no one else noticed. Every tear you cried was recorded. Every silent prayer was heard. You are standing in a spiritual intersection where time and eternity collide. This message is confirmation. You are chosen, and you are right on schedule. There's something powerful about divine interruptions. They are moments when your routine collides with revelation. Think about it. Moses was tending sheep when fire appeared in a bush that would not burn. Mary was doing her daily tasks when an angel called her highly favored. You, too, are being called higher. The same voice that spoke in ancient days still whispers, now, right where you sit. This is not the voice of an algorithm. This is the voice of assignment. The world may have tried to label you as too sensitive, too intense, or too different, but what they called weakness. Heaven calls sensitivity to the spirit. The same empathy that made you weep for others' pain is the same anointing that gives you authority to heal them. You carry a frequency that darkness recognizes. That's why certain people couldn't stay in your life. They were never built to handle the glow you carry. And now, God is awakening that dormant part of you. You can feel it, can't you? The stirring, the pull. Something inside is rising a holy defiance against everything that once held you down. You are not at the end. You are at the turning point. Heaven is saying, it's time. Every hidden seed planted through your tears is about to bloom. The fire that almost consumed you will now become the flame that empowers you. The Spirit whispers, don't give up now. You are too close. You have survived too much to let go. You've walked through shadows, through confusion, through rejection, but still, you stand. You are living proof that the light inside you is stronger than any darkness that tried to bury you. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. That's you, chosen one. You will soar again. You will rise above what tried to destroy you. The fatigue, the fear, the doubt, they are breaking right now under the weight of your purpose. Heaven is restoring your wings. You will not crawl into your destiny, you will fly into it. Let this be your divine wake-up call. God's timing is never off. He is never late. Never early. Always precise. This message found you not because of chance, but because of divine coordination. November 22 is not a date of doom, it is a date of destiny. Something shifts for you in the unseen. A door that was locked tight begins to open. The peace you lost begins to return. The strength you thought was gone begins to rise within you again. Right now, lift your head. Feel the weight of despair lifting off your shoulders. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is breathing into your spirit. You will not remain in the valley. You are being elevated to mountaintop vision. The pain that once defined you will soon testify for you. You are the living proof that grace still chooses the broken and turns them into warriors of light. If you can feel this stirring in your spirit, don't scroll away in silence. Like this message, share it so another chosen one can be reminded they're not forgotten. Leave a comment below with the number 777, a prophetic act of completion and divine perfection. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel so you never miss what heaven releases next. Because this is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your awakening. Heaven paused your moment to whisper, you are seen, you are loved, you are chosen. You were never ordinary, chosen one. From the very beginning, heaven set you apart. Even before you could speak, the unseen recognized something sacred wrapped in your small frame. There were moments when you could not understand why you felt everything so deeply, why the laughter of others sometimes pierced your peace, why the pain of strangers felt personal. It was not emotional fragility, it was divine sensitivity. You were born with an inner radar that could sense spiritual movement long before the physical world caught up. That is the mark of one chosen for divine assignment. You may have tried to silence it. You may have wished to fit in, to blend among those who seemed carefree and unbothered, but you could never quite disappear into the crowd. Could you? The world sensed it. 2. People have looked at you differently, not always kindly. They misunderstood your silence, mistook your patience for weakness, and questioned your depth because they could not see the weight you carry. Yet, through every misunderstanding, heaven smiled. Because obscurity was your shield, what felt like rejection was, in truth, protection. The day you realize that your difference is divine is the day you stop apologizing for it. You were never meant to mirror the world. You were crafted to reflect heaven. Every gift you carry, the way you see, the way you feel, the way you hear was carefully placed within you to fulfill a heavenly purpose. The very qualities the world called too much are the same ones God calls necessary for the calling ahead. You've noticed how certain places drain you, how certain voices trouble your spirit, how certain environments seem to suffocate your light. That's not your imagination. The anointing within you disrupts darkness. Every room you enter shifts spiritually because your presence carries heaven's frequency. This is why isolation found you. God had to separate you to fine-tune your hearing. The noise of the crowd would have drowned the whisper of destiny. You were hidden, but not forgotten, alone, but never abandoned. The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was orientation. There were nights you lay awake, wondering why joy seemed to come for others easily while you wrestled with questions that had no answers. Yet, even in those hours, something sacred was happening. Heaven was cultivating endurance, shaping your heart, and molding your character. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every silence, none of it was wasted. Each piece was working toward an invisible masterpiece that only now begins to take form. You see, to be chosen is not to live a simple story. It is to live a story written in heaven's ink. It carries mystery, trial, revelation, and reward. The chosen are forged in fire because only refined vessels can carry divine glory. That's why your journey has not looked like others. While they built with comfort, you were being built by conviction. While they sought approval, you were learning obedience. The world applauded speed, but heaven valued depth. And through it all, even when you doubted your worth, the Creator never looked away. There were days when your faith trembled, when your prayers felt like whispers lost in the wind, but God still heard them. He saw every moment you wanted to quit and every time you still chose to try again. The divine kept record, not of your failures, but of your faith. You never walked alone, not for a second. The Spirit spoke through the psalmist long ago, and his words echo over you, even now in Psalms. Chapter 139, verse 14. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful indeed. Let that settle in your spirit. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, not accidentally, not conveniently, but intentionally. You were shaped with purpose, designed with precision, and released into this world for a season such as this. Every part of you, your voice, your wounds, your empathy, your resilience was ordained to serve a divine plan. There is nothing broken about being different. It is your evidence of calling. So when the world questions your light, do not dim it. When others mock your faith, do not shrink back. You were not created to explain your existence to those who cannot perceive the divine. You were called to walk it out boldly. The same hands that placed the stars in the sky placed destiny in your soul. The same God who breathed galaxies into being also breathed His Spirit into you. That is why you sense eternity when others see only the temporary. There is a battle raging. Chosen one, a hidden war that no one around you fully sees. It is not fought with swords or weapons, but in the unseen realm where light and darkness collide. You felt it before, the sudden heaviness in your spirit, the unexplainable fear, the moments when everything seems to rise against your peace. That is not coincidence. That is the invisible resistance every chosen soul must face when stepping closer to purpose. You may think you're just tired or anxious, but what you're really feeling is the weight of spiritual warfare. The enemy doesn't attack the ordinary. He targets the anointed. Darkness studies the light it fears. Every storm that rose against you wasn't random, it was strategic. Hell could sense what you were becoming long before you believed it yourself. You've been under spiritual surveillance, and still, you stand. That alone is victory. There were nights when you didn't even know you were fighting. The confusion, the delay, the betrayal, they were weapons designed to make you forfeit your faith. But what the enemy forgot is that the chosen are covered, even in the silence. Heaven was defending you. Even when you didn't have the words to pray, your tears became your intercession. Every sigh you released was heard in the courts of heaven. The attacks you faced weren't proof of God's absence, they were confirmation of His investment in you. The greater the calling, the greater the conflict. You've been walking through the fire not because you're cursed, but because you're being refined. Hell fears what you're about to release. You are carrying something holy, and the adversary has been trying to crush it before it manifests, but he has already failed. Every trap he set became your training ground. Think about it. Every time you were pushed to your limit, you found strength you didn't know you had. Every betrayal that tried to break you only birthed deeper discernment. Every delay taught you patience. Every disappointment sharpened your vision. The enemy's attacks have been unintentionally preparing you for spiritual authority. You don't just survive battles anymore, you learn through them. You've gone from wounded to warrior. You might not see it yet, but every scar on your soul tells a story of triumph. Each time you got back up, heaven recorded it. Each time you forgave, even when it hurt. Your spirit grew stronger. You are learning how to wage war without losing your worship. You are discovering how to fight battles with faith, not bitterness. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." That is why your fight has felt different. It's not about people, it's about purpose. Those who hurt you were often pawns in a spiritual scheme, but you were never without power. You were born with authority. The Spirit of the living God dwells within you, and that presence terrifies darkness. The more aware you become of who you are, the more the enemy trembles. You are not fighting for victory, you are fighting from victory. The cross already sealed your triumph. So when you feel the pressure rising, don't panic. Lift your head. You are not surrounded by defeat, you are surrounded by heaven's army. Every unseen angel that protected you in your sleep is still standing guard. You are never alone in this war. The more intense the resistance, the closer the breakthrough. Chosen one. This is your reminder. Do not retreat. Stand your ground. You have already outlasted what was sent to destroy you. Now it is time to speak with authority, to rebuke the lies that whisper, "You're unworthy." The devil fears your awakening because an aware believer is unstoppable. Every prayer you've whispered in the dark is now echoing as thunder in the spirit. Take a breath right now. Feel that stirring? That's power awakening inside you again. You are not losing your mind. You are stepping into spiritual clarity. What once confused you is about to make perfect sense. The attacks only revealed the size of your calling. And what's coming next is not another battle, it's divine breakthrough. If your spirit feels this truth, comment, "I stand firm." Say it boldly, as a declaration of faith. When you type those words, you are not just responding, you are agreeing with heaven. You are announcing to darkness that you refuse to retreat, that you recognize the battle, and that you will not be moved. The enemy tried to break you, but all he did was build you. And soon, chosen one. The world will see the warrior heaven already knows you are. When silence spoke loudest, chosen one. You learned truths no teacher could ever explain. Those seasons where God seemed quiet were not abandonment, they were refinement. Heaven does its greatest work in stillness. You cried out for answers, but heaven gave you silence instead. Because silence has a voice. It teaches you to listen beyond words, to discern presence beyond sound. You did not know it then, but while you felt forgotten, God was forming your foundation. There were nights when your prayers hit what felt like a ceiling. You whispered, "Are you there?" And only the echo of your own voice replied. Yet in that quiet space, heaven was not distant, it was near. The silence was divine surgery, cutting away distractions, fears, and false dependencies. God was not ignoring you. He was removing the noise so you could hear him clearly. You were learning to recognize his whisper rather than chase his thunder. The stillness you despised became sacred ground. Every unanswered question shaped patience. Every unfulfilled promise strengthened endurance. When nothing moved, your roots grew deeper. You were learning trust, not through evidence, but through absence. True faith isn't proven in miracles. It's proven in moments when heaven seems still. And you choose to believe anyway. That was your training. Chosen one. And you passed tests you didn't even realize were happening. You thought silence meant stagnation. But it was actually construction. God was building unseen architecture within your spirit character. Humility and resilience. He had to mature your heart before manifesting your promise. If he had given you what you asked for too soon, the weight of it might have crushed you. So he withheld not to punish you, but to prepare you. His silence was not rejection, it was protection. Remember how lonely those days felt, when your circle grew smaller and conversations became shallow. That isolation was intentional. You were being set apart, not pushed aside. Heaven needed to detox your spirit from opinions and influences that could dilute your calling. In the solitude, you met the authentic version of yourself, the one not shaped by applause or approval, but by truth. You discovered that divine companionship can fill every void that human connection cannot. Sometimes, silence reveals what sound hides. When the noise faded, your inner voice grew louder. You started to recognize the subtle shifts of the spirit, the warmth that comes during prayer, the unexplainable peace that follows surrender, the way your heart steadies when you speak his name. You learned that God does not always shout from the heavens. Sometimes he breathes through the wind of your own heartbeat. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." Those words, chosen one, are for you. Every promise God whispered over your life is still alive. The silence did not cancel it, it confirmed it. Delay is not denial, it is divine timing, aligning everything around you. Just because you cannot hear movement does not mean heaven is still. Even now, plans are unfolding behind the curtain of the unseen. You may not see it yet, but you will. You have learned to rest where you once wrestled. You've stopped forcing answers and started trusting process. That is spiritual maturity. The same quiet that once made you doubt now gives you peace, because you've learned something the world doesn't understand. God's silence is not the absence of his voice, it's the space where his strategy unfolds. Think of the seed buried underground. To the outside world, it looks lifeless, hidden, forgotten. But deep within the soil, something sacred is happening. Roots are forming, structure is strengthening, and transformation is preparing to burst forth. That was you, chosen one. You were hidden in holy ground. Heaven wasn't ignoring you, it was incubating you. And when the appointed time arrives, you will break the surface stronger than ever before. So now, when silence returns, you no longer panic. You no longer ask, "Where are you, God?" Because you know the answer. He's right there, working in the quiet, crafting details you cannot yet see. You've learned to sit in the stillness, to breathe in the waiting, to trust the unseen hand that has never failed you. The quiet that once broke you now builds you. Chosen one. Do not despise the silent seasons. They are holy. Every moment, heaven went quiet. Heaven was writing something new. The silence was never the end of your story. It was the pause before the breakthrough. This is your season of awakening. Chosen one. The veil that once blurred your sight is lifting. The patterns that once confused you now reveal their purpose. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak, suddenly you begin to see how it all fits together like divine threads woven through time. Heaven has been painting a masterpiece. And now, for the first time, you are beginning to see the full picture. There's a quiet realization rising inside you. Nothing was wasted. The pain that broke you actually birthed wisdom. The moments you thought were endings were actually divine beginnings in disguise. You are awakening to spiritual clarity, to a knowing that transcends fear and outlasts confusion. Heaven has been training your eyes to see beyond circumstances, to discern the unseen orchestration of grace working behind every closed door. You start to notice the signs again, the repeated numbers, the divine encounters, the sudden peace that finds you when you should be anxious. These are not coincidences. They are holy breadcrumbs leading you home to purpose. When your spirit begins to awaken, everything familiar starts to shift. People may drift away. Désirs change, and your tolerance for spiritual shallowness fades. You no longer crave noise, you crave meaning. You no longer chase recognition, you pursue revelation. That's how you know your awakening has begun. As the ancient psalmist once declared in Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Morning is breaking for you now. The long night of confusion is ending. You are waking up not just to a new day, but to a new dimension of awareness. What once hurt you now instructs you. The voices that mocked you now motivate you. The wounds that once bled now shine as scars of survival. The morning light of grace is rising across the landscape of your soul, and it's revealing that every shadow had a purpose. This awakening is not loud, it's gentle. Like dawn, creeping quietly over mountains. You don't need to force it. You only need to receive it. Because the same God who commands the sun to rise has commanded your heart to awaken. The light doesn't rush, it simply appears. And darkness disappears without resistance. That's what's happening within you. Darkness is losing its grip because illumination has entered. When God awakens someone, everything about them changes: their priorities, their vision, even their walk. You begin to sense divine rhythm in your steps. You start noticing miracles in small moments, the right word at the right time, the random act of kindness that answers a prayer, the message that finds you just when you need it most. This is heaven's way of saying, "I never left you. I was only waiting for you to see." And as you awaken, your spirit becomes a mirror for others. Your light starts to stir something in those still sleeping. Without even speaking, you become a signal of hope. That's the power of divine awakening. It spreads quietly, transforming hearts, one spark at a time. You are becoming that spark, that sacred flame in someone else's darkness. Chosen one. Take a breath and feel that truth settling in your soul. You have survived the night. Now, it's time to walk into your morning. And as you do, I know this: awakening is a journey, not a single moment. It unfolds through community, through reminders, through staying connected to messages that keep your fire alive. If these words have stirred something in you, if they've helped you see your journey through heaven's eyes, consider becoming part of this growing family of light. Like this message, not for algorithms, but as a declaration. I am awake. Share it so another soul lost in the night can find their dawn. Subscribe, not as a habit, but as a commitment to stay aligned with divine truth. And if your heart feels led, you can even plant a seed of support through a donation, not as payment, but as partnership. Every gift, no matter how small, becomes another beam of light that helps spread these messages to the world. Imagine this: every like is a candle lit, every share a torch passed, every donation a brick laid in the foundation of a global altar of awakening. Together, we are building something eternal, a network of light bearers, reminding the world that hope is never lost. You are part of something divine. Chosen one. This isn't just content, it's calling. This isn't performance, it's purpose. You're not following a voice, you're joining a movement of heaven on earth. Your awakening is the signal heaven has been waiting for. And as you rise, remember, you don't awaken just for yourself, but for those who will one day rise because they saw you shining. There are moments in history when heaven and earth align perfectly, moments when divine timing breaks through delay, when prayers long held in silence suddenly find their answer. November 22 is one of those moments. Chosen one. You may not feel it yet, but the spiritual atmosphere around you is shifting. Things that seemed immovable are beginning to tremble. Promises that felt forgotten are stirring again. This is not random, it is prophetic timing. For months, perhaps years, you have carried the weight of unfulfilled words, prophecies spoken over your life that seemed to fade with time. You replayed them in your mind, wondering if you misheard heaven, wondering if maybe the promise was for someone else. But today, as the winds of this divine date approach, heaven whispers, it's time. Every delay has reached its expiration. What was once pending in the spiritual realm is now being released into manifestation. The clock of eternity has struck in your favor. You can almost sense it, doors beginning to move, hearts beginning to open, divine connections being positioned like stars aligning in a sacred constellation. The same God who spoke galaxies into order is aligning the details of your destiny right now. Do not underestimate this season. The shaking you feel is not destruction, it's divine rearrangement. Things are being shifted to make room for what's coming. You may have noticed people drifting away, plan dissolving, or opportunities closing. Don't panic. Heaven is clearing your path of anything that cannot travel where you're going. The pruning is not punishment, it's preparation. There is a weight to divine timing. It demands that we release control. You've prayed, you've believed, and now you must trust. The hardest part of faith is not believing that God can, it's waiting until He does. But here, at the threshold of this appointed moment, your waiting is no longer in vain. You're stepping into the chapter heaven wrote long ago. You might remember the story of Joseph, imprisoned and forgotten, yet destined for greatness. One morning looked just like every other, but that single day carried divine timing. Before the sun set, he went from prisoner to ruler. That's what heaven's alignment can do. It transforms suddenly. November 22 carries that same energy of divine acceleration. What took years to build can shift in moments under heaven's command. The voice of God thundered in the book of Ecclesiastes. Chapter 3, Verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Emzine, this is your time. Chosen one, not yesterday, not someday now. You are standing in your appointed season. Every lesson, every loss, every tear has led to this doorway, and now heaven waits for your agreement, for your bold yes to step through. Do you feel that subtle pull in your spirit, that quickening heartbeat, that holy anticipation? That's confirmation. Heaven is signaling you that the appointed time has arrived. For too long, you've been preparing, refining, praying. Now, the preparation meets its purpose. The waiting was never wasted. It built spiritual muscle. It trained your discernment. It matured your obedience. Now you are ready to carry what once could have crushed you. The alignment may not look dramatic. Sometimes divine timing moves quietly, like a gentle shift in the wind, or a chance meeting that alters everything. But once it begins, it cannot be stopped. The same hand that delayed the door now opens it. The same heaven that said, "Wait," now says, "Walk." Then, chosen one, breathe deeply and receive this truth. You are stepping into your harvest. You will see signs of it everywhere in restored communication, unexpected favor, renewed energy, and divine peace that follows every obedient step. The key now is not striving, but surrender. Heaven does not require your panic. It requires your partnership. This moment is not about coincidence. It is divine choreography, heaven dancing perfectly in time with your faith. The winds that once resisted you will now carry you. The opportunities that once hid from you will now find you. If your spirit feels this resonance, if you sense that this message has arrived precisely when you needed it, then mark this alignment as your declaration of faith. Comment the number 555 below. That number symbolizes grace, divine change, and transformation. When you type it, you are not typing for show. You are prophesying agreement. You are saying, "I receive this shift. I am ready for what's mine." Let that number be your seal in the spirit realm, your signature under heaven's decree. November 22 is not just another date, it's a divine appointment. When you look back, you will remember this moment as the day things began to move in your favor. And while the world will call it coincidence, you will know it was heaven's precise timing. Chosen one, take heart. What you've prayed for is closer than you think. The waiting season is closing, and the season of fulfillment has begun. Heaven's clock has turned, and it points directly to you. The closer light draws, the harder darkness fights. You may have already noticed it. Small frustrations flaring up, unexpected conflict, old wounds reopening. It is no coincidence. The enemy always strikes hardest right before breakthrough. The intensity of your warfare is the indicator of your proximity to victory. Every chosen one experiences this moment, the point where destiny begins to emerge and darkness launches its last desperate attempt to silence you. You've been feeling weary, haven't you? The pressure seems unrelenting. It's as if everything you've prayed for suddenly invites opposition. The reason is simple. Your rising light exposes hidden shadows. Darkness cannot remain comfortable when a true child of light steps into awareness. It begins to tremble, to react, to distract. But chosen one, understand this opposition is proof of progress. If you were not moving forward, resistance would have no reason to appear. There's a strategy to every storm. The enemy knows he cannot remove your calling, so he tries to cloud your confidence. He knows he cannot erase your promise, so he aims to exhaust your patience. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Hell does not fight the insignificant. It fears those carrying heavenly blueprints. Look at your life through spiritual eyes. The recent misunderstandings, the people who turned without warning, the financial pressure, the sudden discouragement, they are not random events. They are coordinated distractions designed to make you forget who you are. But now you see through them. You can sense the pattern, the same tactic, the same lie. You're alone. You've failed. It's over. Yet, somehow, you are still standing. That in itself is your evidence of victory. Remember the story of Job. When he lost everything, heaven wasn't punishing him, it was proving him. The same fire that tried to destroy him refined him. The loss revealed loyalty, the pain purified purpose. You are in that same refining phase. The attacks against you are forging authority. You are being trusted with fire because heaven knows you will not be consumed by it. And in the middle of the storm, there is always a whisper. The Spirit of God does not scream above chaos. He speaks through it. There will be moments when His words are not loud, but you'll feel them like a current through your bones. The message is simple. Hold your ground. You are covered. Now, according to what is revealed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication is from me, declares the Lord. End of 10. Let that promise settle over you like armor. No weapon, no lie, no accusation. No fear can prosper against a soul anointed for purpose. The battle may rage, but its outcome is already decided. You are fighting from victory, not for it. Every strike of darkness only sharpens your discernment. Every wound pushes you deeper into the refuge of divine presence. The enemy wants to isolate you in exhaustion, but you must remember, you were never meant to fight alone. Heaven surrounds you. Invisible armies stand guard around your life. When you speak truth, they move. When you worship, they war on your behalf. Your strength doesn't come from striving, it flows from surrender. The same power that sustained Christ in Gethsemane sustains you now. Sometimes, God allows the battle not to break you, but to reveal you. He wants you to see what hell already knows, that you carry authority every time you stand firm. The unseen realm trembles. Your endurance becomes a sermon without words. Others will draw courage from your quiet resilience, and though it hurts, this season is necessary. Diamonds are not formed in comfort, but under pressure. Oil is not released without crushing. Gold is not purified without fire. You are being refined into something radiant and unbreakable. What feels like warfare is actually transformation. Heaven is forging you into a weapon of light, sharp, steadfast, and unstoppable. The storm will not last forever. There will come a dawn when you will look back and realize it was in the battle that you discovered your authority. Every scar will become a mark of honor. Every night you cried will become proof that faith can outlast fear. Hold steady. Chosen one, the shaking is not your end, it's your unveiling. Darkness is making noise because your light has grown too bright to ignore. You are not under attack, you are under recognition. Hell finally knows your name. And heaven is smiling because you finally know your power. The refining fire, chosen one, it is a sacred mystery few understand. It does not come to destroy you, but to define you. Many run from it, fearing its heat. Yet only through it can your true essence emerge. You have walked through this fire before, the disappointment that burned like acid, the betrayal that left scars no one could see, the delay that melted away every illusion of control. All of it was flame with a purpose. The fire of God is not random, it is precise. It burns away what is false and leaves only what is eternal. You once prayed for strength, and the answer came disguised as struggle. You asked for wisdom, and heaven sent wilderness. You asked to be used, and you were broken open. These are not contradictions. They are the ways of divine refinement. The vessels heaven uses most are those that have been through the hottest flames. At first, you resisted. You thought the heat meant God had abandoned you. You questioned, why would a loving Father let me walk through such pain? But now, on the other side of many storms, you begin to see what was hidden within the fire, transformation. What you lost in comfort, you gained in clarity. What you surrendered in control, you received back in courage. Every chosen soul must pass through fire before being trusted with glory. The same way gold is purified in the furnace. Your soul is purified through adversity. Gold cannot argue with the fire. It simply yields until every impurity rises to the surface and is removed. You, too, have been yielding, allowing heaven to skim away fear, doubt, and pride. It hasn't been easy, but deep down, you know this. You are not who you used to be. Think back to who you were before the flame. You carried dreams, yes, but also weights that were never yours to bear. You clung to people, places, and plans that could not sustain your destiny. So the fire came not as punishment, but as divine intervention. It loosened your grip on the temporary and anchored your faith in the eternal. You've learned that when everything else burns away, what remains is what truly matters: faith, obedience, and love. And isn't it strange how, after all that burning, your heart has become softer, not harder? The world expects the wounded to grow bitter, yet you have grown tender. That is the mark of one refined by grace. The fire that could have made you resentful instead made you radiant. It is the evidence of divine craftsmanship that even through pain, you were being perfected. We are reminded through the writings of Peter, chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. In all this you greatly rejoice. Though now, for a little while, you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. You, chosen one, are walking testimony of that truth. Every time you refused to give up, you were testifying. Every time you worshipped through pain, you were declaring victory. Every time you chose forgiveness instead of bitterness, heaven took note. You were not failing, you were being forged. The fire doesn't only remove it, also reveals. It reveals hidden strength, dormant gifts, and divine resilience. The same flames that burned away your weakness uncovered your worth. Now, when you look in the mirror, you don't just see a survivor, you see a warrior refined, radiant, and ready. And yet, refinement is never just for you. What you've endured becomes oil for others. Your story carries healing for those still trembling in the fire. The empathy you now carry is the fragrance of someone who has been near the flame and lived to tell the story. You will recognize the look in others' eyes, the same quiet exhaustion you once felt, and you will speak words that only someone refined could speak. This won't destroy you. It's making you all none. Every scar, every loss, every tear, they are proof that you have walked through holy fire and survived. You carry the scent of smoke, not as shame, but as evidence of transformation. The heat that once terrified you now empowers you. You are no longer afraid of the fire because you've learned that you are the fire, a living flame fueled by divine purpose. So do not curse the season that burned you. Bless it. It made you durable, dependable, and dangerous to darkness. What was meant to break you became your becoming. Heaven trusted you with heat because heaven knew you would not collapse. You were never being destroyed. Chosen one. You were being defined. There are moments when the storm seems louder than God's voice, when the waves crash so violently that you begin to wonder if heaven can even hear you anymore. But, chosen one, listen carefully. God does not always calm the storm. Sometimes he speaks through it. You may think the chaos is drowning out his words. Yet, in truth, it is carrying his message. The thunder you fear may actually be his response. And the lightning that startles you may be the spark of revelation meant to guide your way. You've been standing in a whirlwind lately, haven't you? Everything familiar has been shifting: relationships, opportunities, even your own emotions. It feels like the ground beneath you can't be trusted. But even here, in the center of the storm, there is a voice calling your name. It's gentle but unwavering, steady amid the noise. That is the voice of the one who never left your side. When fear screams, God whispers. And those who have walked through enough storms know that his whisper is stronger than the world's roar. You've been trained for this. Each battle before now was preparing your spirit to hear him in chaos. This storm is not punishment, it is promotion. It is heaven testing your ability to stay calm in the tempest, because where you're going, peace will be your greatest weapon. The disciples once faced a similar storm. Waves threatened to sink their boat, and they panicked. But Jesus slept through it, not because he didn't care, but because he knew something they hadn't yet realized. The storm was never stronger than the one in the boat. That same presence rides with you now. You are not being tossed alone on wild seas. You are being carried toward destiny under divine command. The ancient text records the words of the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verse 39. He got up, rebuked the wind, said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." The wind died, and calm came. There it is, your reminder that even the elements must bow to his voice. The same voice that spoke peace to the storm on the Sea of Galilee now speaks peace over the turbulence in your mind, your heart, and your life. The storm does not have the final say. Peace does. Think of this. Storms are never sent without reason. They reveal what was hidden beneath the surface. When winds rise, weak roots are exposed, but strong ones dig deeper. That's what you've been doing, digging deeper into faith. anchoring your hope not in what you see, but in who you know God to be. Every wave that tried to drown you has only pushed you closer to His presence. You've learned that the safest place is not the absence of storms, but the center of His will. You're starting to realize that peace is not the lack of conflict, it's the presence of confidence. Confidence that even if the sea roars, heaven reigns. You may not control the waves, but you know the one who does. That knowledge changes everything. It turns panic into prayer, fear into focus, chaos into communion, and maybe, just maybe, this storm isn't about stopping you, it's about showing others how a chosen one stands unshaken. Someone is watching your endurance right now, drawing courage from your calm. You don't even know it, but your peace is preaching louder than words ever could. That's why the storm had to come, so your faith could speak for itself. There's a hush that comes after every storm, a silence soaked in awe. You will stand in that silence soon, looking back at the waves that once terrified you, and you'll realize something powerful. They never had the power to take you under. They only pushed you toward your next level of faith. So right now, chosen one, as the winds swirl and uncertainty surrounds you, make this your declaration. Comment, "Peace within me." Do it not for show, but as an act of spiritual agreement. When you type those words, you are not just writing a phrase, you are declaring authority over chaos. You are saying to every anxious thought, every inner storm, "Be still. I know who sails my ship." Because when you decide to trust the whisper more than the wind, the sea loses its power. The storm cannot sink what heaven sustains. You are not breaking apart. You are breaking through. And soon, the same waves that threaten to destroy you will carry you safely to the shore of destiny. Heaven's alignment is never random. Chosen one. It is as deliberate as the turning of planets, as gentle as the pull of the moon on the sea. You are now entering a season when everything, every delay, every meeting, every detour begins to make sense. The scattered pieces of your life, once confusing and disjointed, are forming a divine pattern. Heaven has been arranging things quietly, like a master conductor preparing an unseen symphony. And now, the first notes begin to play. You might not see it all yet, but you can feel it, a rhythm building inside your spirit. Opportunities that once felt far are drawing near. Conversations begin to align. People who share your heart's language start to appear. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence. Heaven has shifted from preparation to manifestation. Everything that was once out of sync is now falling into harmony. God's timing is like a tide. It never misses its moment. The waves that once receded are returning stronger, carrying what you once lost. You may feel like you've been waiting on heaven, but in truth, heaven has been waiting on you, waiting for your heart to mature, your faith to stabilize, and your obedience to align. Now that you have endured, you are ready for what's coming. Sometimes divine alignment feels like small, ordinary things, an unexpected message, a song at the right moment, a stranger's kindness that speaks directly to your need. These are not random events, they are breadcrumbs from heaven guiding your steps. When your spirit is tuned, you start to notice the music in the mundane. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, people plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. That verse is the quiet heartbeat beneath everything you are living right now. You have made plans, dreamed dreams, and worked hard. But only now are you seeing how heaven was establishing your path beneath your feet all along. What looked like detours were actually directions. The wrong turns were reroutes toward destiny. Chosen one. When heaven aligns things, it is never partial. The alignment touches every part of your life, your mind, your relationships, your resources, your peace. What was scattered begins to gather. What was delayed suddenly accelerates. You will find that divine timing doesn't just open doors, it also closes the wrong ones with grace. That is part of protection too. There will come a moment soon when you will look around and realize, I am standing in the answer I once prayed for. That is divine alignment. It sneaks up quietly, wrapping itself around your obedience until everything starts to flow instead of force. But here is the truth. Alignment grows stronger through connection. No fire stays alive when isolated. It burns brighter when surrounded by other flames. That's why these messages matter. They are not simply words, they are reminders. Each one is a spark to keep your spirit lit while you navigate the world's shadows. If this message resonates, if you can feel heaven confirming it within you, take a moment to honor what you're receiving. Like this message, not as a routine click, but as a small act of gratitude. Like lighting a candle in a sacred space. Share it so that others wandering in confusion might find direction again. You never know whose alignment begins with your obedience to share light, and if you feel led to go deeper, to sow into the very flame that keeps this flow of truth alive. Consider giving whatever your heart leads, not as payment, but as partnership. Every offering becomes oil poured back into the lamp so it can keep shining. Like rain returning to the clouds, it sustains what sustains you. You are not just supporting a message, you are helping build a movement of light. Each gift fuels the creation of words that awaken souls. Each share sends ripples across the spiritual ocean, reaching hearts you may never meet, but will one day rejoice with in eternity. Think of it like tending a divine garden. A gardener waters not only his own flowers, but the soil that allows them to grow together. Every act of support, whether a like, a share, a seed of giving is water for this spiritual soil. And in heaven's economy, nothing given in faith ever returns empty. So, as you continue walking through this alignment, stay connected. Subscribe, not out of habit, but as a way of saying, I choose to stay aligned. Every word, every message, every moment that follows will meet you exactly when you need it most, just as this one did. The season of divine order has begun, and your steps are being synchronized with heaven's rhythm. Breathe it in. Feel the peace that follows precision. You are exactly where you're meant to be. There comes a moment, chosen one, when you realize that survival was never the goal, authority was. Everything you've endured has not only strengthened you, it has anointed you. The trembling hands that once reached for help now carry power. The same voice that once cried out for deliverance now carries authority to command deliverance for others. You are not merely being comforted anymore. You are being commissioned. Heaven has watched your endurance with pride. You have been tested, stretched, and refined, and now the mantle of authority rests upon your shoulders. A mantle is not earned by titles, applause, or effort. It is bestowed through surrender and endurance. You have carried your cross faithfully. Now you are entrusted with a crown of spiritual weight. Authority is not loud, it is steady. It does not boast, it simply is. When you speak now, creation listens. When you pray, the atmosphere shifts. When you walk into a room, light precedes you because you no longer move in your own strength. You move in divine commission. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is alive in you. Not metaphorically, but literally. It pulses in your veins like divine electricity, awakening dormant possibilities around you. Authority is not domination, it is alignment. It means your will has become one with the will of heaven. You no longer beg for doors to open, you command them to. In the name of the one who sent you. You no longer plead with darkness to leave, you speak, and it flees. Because light does not debate with shadows. You are learning that authority is not noise, it is knowing. Knowing who you are, whose you are, and what power you carry. For too long, you underestimated yourself. You thought humility meant shrinking. But humility is not silence, it is stewardship. True humility says, "This power is not mine, but I am responsible for how I use it." That is what God is teaching you now, how to wield what you've been given with wisdom and grace. The ancient record declares in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, "Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." Oh, that is the word of the Lord over your life today. You have been given power, not the kind that seeks attention, but the kind that brings transformation. You can walk into confusion and bring order, speak into despair and birth hope, stand in the middle of chaos and manifest calm. You are the vessel through which heaven enforces its will on earth. Do you remember when fear used to control you, when anxiety dictated your every move? Now those same fears tremble when you awaken in the morning. You have shifted from prey to authority. The things that once chased you now retreat at your presence. You are no longer begging for peace, you are peace. You are no longer searching for purpose, you embody purpose. Authority changes everything, not only how you speak, but how you see. You no longer view challenges as threats, but as invitations to demonstrate power. You've stopped asking, "Why me?" and started declaring, "Send me." The wilderness that once broke you now bows to you. You are not the same soul who entered the fire. You are the one who commands it now. And yet, authority comes with weight. The more power you carry, the more responsibility you bear. Heaven trusts you to speak life, to forgive when others curse, to stand firm when others fall away. This is why your character had to be refined before the crown could rest upon you. Without refinement, power corrupts, but in the hands of the surrendered, it creates miracles. You've noticed it already. People come to you for guidance without knowing why. Strangers open up about their pain, as if their spirit recognizes yours. That's not coincidence, it's the aura of authority. It's heaven's signature upon your life. You are not just walking through seasons anymore, you are shaping them. There will still be battles, but they no longer define you, they reveal you. You have become a walking demonstration of divine order. Every word you speak carries weight. Every act of love releases light. You are the manifestation of heaven's intent in human form. Chosen one. This is your mantle season. Walk with quiet confidence. Let your steps be steady and your words intentional. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. Your presence already declares it. Authority isn't something you strive for, it's something you live from. You are heaven's ambassador, carrying the seal of divine legitimacy. You've crossed the threshold from being refined to being released. The world won't always understand it, but they will feel it. Wherever you go, peace will follow. Miracles will echo. Darkness will bow. Because authority doesn't announce itself, it simply exists. And everything around it must respond. There are moments when heaven requires you to act, not tomorrow, not eventually, but now. This is one of those moments. Chosen one, you have carried revelation, endured refining, and stepped into authority. But every divine revelation must be sealed by declaration. Heaven has positioned you in this hour, not to listen only, but to agree. For when the chosen declare, the unseen shifts. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law. Words are bridges between the seen and unseen. They build paths where prayers can travel. Heaven listens not only to what you believe, but to what you speak. That is why silence can be costly and declaration can be powerful. The universe is moved not by emotion, but by alignment. When your words agree with heaven's will, miracles begin to form. You have felt it before, that quickening in your spirit, the sudden rush of peace after obedience, the subtle warmth that follows when you say yes to the divine nudge. Those are confirmations that heaven hears you. And today, heaven is asking for one prophetic act, a public declaration of your agreement. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Joel. Chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten, the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. That verse is a decree of divine restoration. It means that nothing truly lost remains lost. Time, opportunities, and peace. All of it can be restored by God's hand. But restoration requires activation. You must declare that you receive it, not someday, but now, because today is not just another day, it is the hinge between what was and what will be. You have walked through seasons of subtraction. You have felt the weight of delay, the ache of loss, the silence of heaven. But those years were not wasted. They were investment. You gave your tears, your prayers, your trust, and heaven took note of every sacrifice. Now, restoration begins. Not just physical recovery, but spiritual wholeness. This is a season where God is not merely giving back what you lost, He is multiplying what remains. But the gate of restoration opens with response. It is a moment of participation between heaven and earth. When heaven decrees, earth must agree. That is why this moment matters. You are being asked to seal your faith with action, to type, to speak, to stand as one in divine alignment. Chosen one. If you feel this stirring, if your heart is pounding because you know this message found you at the appointed time, then join in this prophetic act. Comment the number 888 below. That number is not ordinary. It represents new beginnings, resurrection, and divine restoration. When you type it, you are not performing a ritual, you are proclaiming renewal. You are saying, I receive my restoration. I welcome new beginnings. I align with heaven's timing. No, this act may seem small, but heaven has always worked through simple obedience. A single number becomes a spiritual echo, a signal in the unseen realm that your faith is active. When you write it, angels move. When you declare it, the atmosphere around your life begins to shift. Because this is what restoration looks like. What was broken begins to mend. What was delayed begins to accelerate. What was taken begins to return, multiplied. Relationships realign. Finances stabilize. Peace flows again. You begin to see beauty sprouting from ashes. Purpose rising from pain. Think of it as a holy sunrise. The night has been long, but dawn is here. The first rays of light are touching the edges of your life. And soon, everything that was shadowed will be illuminated again. The same God who restores sight to the blind and breath to dry bones is breathing on your story. And while restoration unfolds, you must protect your faith like a fragile seed. Speak life, even when it still looks barren. Thank God before the miracle manifests. This is how heaven's rhythm works. It requires faith that celebrates before it sees. Your restoration is not partial, it is total. Emotional wounds, spiritual weariness, financial strain, relational distance, all of it is under the redeeming power of this moment. The enemy thought the years were wasted, but heaven has been saving interest on every lost day. When restoration arrives, it does not return things as they were. It makes them better than before. So breathe deeply. The winds are shifting. You are standing at the threshold of renewal. The same voice that whispered creation into existence now whispers your name, saying, "Rise, chosen one." It's time to recover all. Number 1. Let your comment, 888, be your amen in the spirit. It is not for appearance, it is for alignment. Heaven is waiting for your agreement. And the moment you respond, something ancient and holy begins to move on your behalf. Restoration does not arrive quietly. Chosen one, it unfolds like dawn, breaking through a long, dark night. It comes in waves, subtle at first. Then, unmistakable, you begin to notice small things aligning, little mercies appearing, peace returning in places where only exhaustion once lived. It's almost disorienting. This sudden calm after so many storms. You've been wired to expect trouble, but heaven is teaching you to expect goodness again. Restoration is not only about getting back what you lost, it is about becoming someone who can sustain what's coming. You are not being returned to who you were before the pain, you are being elevated into who you were always meant to become. The waiting, the wilderness, the wounds, they all served a purpose. They stripped away everything that was temporary so that only truth could remain. And now, you stand different. You think differently. Pray differently. Love differently. You no longer measure your worth by what stayed or what left, but by what survived within you. There is strength in your silence now, wisdom in your wounds, and fire in your faith. The same tears that once fell from sorrow now carry healing. That is restoration, not simply recovering, but radiating. There's something divine about how God restores. He doesn't return things as they were. He returns them transformed. The relationships that broke are rebuilt with understanding. The peace you thought was gone comes back deeper, steadier. Even your dreams return, but now they carry maturity. Heaven's restoration never imitates the past, it redefines it. You may still see the scars. Don't hide them. Scars are proof of victory, the map of how grace carried you through. They are sacred reminders that pain was once present, but not permanent. Those scars are your credentials in the kingdom of healing. When others look at you and see resilience, they are seeing God's restoration embodied. The Spirit reveals through the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 17, "For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord, because they called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after." That verse holds power because it reminds you that rejection never has the final word. The world may have labeled you too broken, too far gone, or too late, but heaven calls you healed. Every voice that dismissed you becomes background noise compared to the sound of your restoration. You are no longer the abandoned one, you are the redeemed one. As restoration unfolds, you begin to notice that joy feels different now. It's quieter, but stronger. You don't need constant proof or validation anymore. You've learned that peace is not dependent on circumstance. It's an atmosphere cultivated by faith. Your laughter comes easier now, not because life is perfect, but because you've stopped fighting every wave. You've learned to float in God's current, trusting that wherever He carries you is where you're meant to be. Restoration also brings divine recompense. The same areas where you were attacked are the ones God is blessing abundantly. Where you were once misunderstood, clarity now shines. Where you were deprived, abundance begins to overflow. The spiritual law of restoration demands multiplication. It gives back double for the trouble, beauty for ashes, joy for mourning. Heaven is not stingy in repayment. It is extravagant. Still, you must guard this season carefully. Restoration attracts attention. The same enemy that fought your growth will try to disrupt your peace. Stay discerning. Every blessing must be stewarded, not flaunted. Protect your peace like holy ground. Don't allow bitterness, fear, or pride to contaminate what grace has rebuilt. You've come too far to let the past reclaim you. And remember this, true restoration is also generational. What God restores in you will ripple through your lineage. The healing in your soul will become inheritance for those who come after you. Your children, your community, your spiritual descendants, they will walk on ground that your pain purified. You are not just restored, you are a restorer. You carry a healing anointing that multiplies beyond your lifetime. You will find yourself comforting others with the same words that once comforted you. You will look into someone else's weary eyes and say, "I know this valley," and they will believe you, because your voice carries the sound of someone who has walked through fire and come out shining. That is the divine cycle. Restored people restore others. So breathe deeply. Chosen one, look around your life and notice the evidence of healing, the serenity that meets you in prayer, the quiet gratitude that fills your mornings, the sense that even in uncertainty, you are finally safe. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Restoration is not coming, it has begun. Heaven has written a new rhythm into your days. You don't need to chase what's already been assigned to you. The goodness that once felt distant now walks beside you. And when you look back, you will see that every broken piece fit perfectly into a design only the restorer could create. There is a quiet beauty in closure. Chosen one. It doesn't always come with applause or explanation, but with peace the kind that doesn't need to understand everything anymore. The circle begins to close. Not because God is finished with you, but because He is transitioning you to what's next. The same places that once held your tears now echo with stillness. The pain that once consumed your thoughts now fades into lessons, gentle and sacred. This is the holy ending, the soft sigh after a long storm. You have spent seasons carrying unanswered questions. Why did it end that way? Why did they leave? Why did I have to lose so much just to learn so little? Yet now, the answers come, not in words, but in perspective. You begin to see that every ending was necessary, every goodbye divinely timed. God was never punishing you, He was pruning you. He was cutting away what couldn't grow with you, ensuring that what remains is authentic, rooted, and ready. Closure isn't always loud. Often, it's the silence that signals healing. It's when you stop replaying the conversation in your head. It's when you can think of their name without flinching. It's when you can look back without longing. That is when heaven whispers, "It's done." Dad, this part of your journey is sacred because it's not about receiving, it's about releasing. You are learning that some doors must stay closed. Some stories must remain complete. The peace you crave can't coexist with constant reopening of old wounds. The same faith that helped you endure the pain must now help you let it go. We are reminded through the book of Philippians, chapter 3, verse 13, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before. No, those words are not about erasing your past, they're about freeing your future. Forgetting doesn't mean denying, it means detaching your identity from old battles. You can honor what happened without carrying its weight. You can bless what left without wishing it back. That is spiritual maturity, to stand in gratitude even for what hurt you. Because now you see how it shaped you. Some of the people who walked away were never enemies. They were seasons. They came to teach, to mirror, to awaken parts of you that couldn't have been reached any other way. And when their role was complete, heaven called them out of your story. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you graduated. Every departure was divine promotion in disguise. You have outgrown some versions of yourself, and that is holy. The fear that once ruled you no longer fits. The doubts that once bound you now sound foreign. You are stepping into wholeness, and that means traveling lighter. Closure is heaven's way of clearing the path so that you can move forward without residue. There is beauty in walking away without bitterness. It is strength to bless what broke you, to release without resentment. That doesn't make you naive, it makes you free. Every time you forgive, you cut the cord that ties you to the pain. Forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened, it's about remembering without reliving it. You are not dismissing the past, you are disarming it. In this season of closure, you will notice memories returning like gentle waves, not to torment, but to testify. They no longer sting. They simply remind you how far you've come. You will smile at what once made you cry, not because it didn't matter, but because you finally see why it had to happen. Closure reveals meaning where confusion once lived. You have learned that healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel peace, other days a flicker of pain. But that doesn't mean you're moving backward, it means you're human. What matters is that every wave of emotion now passes quicker, leaving stillness behind. That is progress. That is peace. The circle closes when you stop trying to rewrite the ending. When you accept that the story played out exactly as it needed to. Even if it didn't go as you planned, you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin saying, "Thank you. Thank you for the lessons, the resilience, the perspective. Thank you for trusting me with endings that became new beginnings in disguise." And slowly, you begin to notice the horizon again. The same sun that set on one chapter now rises over another. There is no regret in your gaze anymore, only readiness. You have learned to walk away with reverence, not rebellion, to close the book without tearing the pages, to say, "It was good," even when it was hard. Closure doesn't mean the story is over. It means it has fulfilled its purpose. Every thread has been tied. Every tear has been seen. Every wound has been healed. What was once pain is now wisdom. What was once chaos is now clarity. You are lighter, freer, whole. And as the circle closes, heaven smiles. For this is not the end. Chosen one. It is the quiet turning of the page. The global call is rising. Chosen one. Can you feel it? A deep vibration running through the fabric of humanity, like a heartbeat echoing from heaven itself. You are not the only one awakening. Across nations, languages, and generations, other lights are flickering on souls like yours who have endured darkness and now hear the same whisper, "It's time." And heaven is summoning its messengers, aligning its warriors, gathering the chosen across every corner of the earth. What once felt like isolation was actually incubation. You were being prepared privately so you could lead publicly. And now, your light is needed not to boast, but to guide, not to shout, but to shine. Imagine the world as a vast night sky. For years, it seemed dim hope scattered, faith fading. But one by one, stars begin to awaken. Some are faint at first, trembling with uncertainty, but soon they grow brighter, bolder, illuminating the horizon. That is what's happening now, globally and spiritually. The chosen ones are rising like constellations, each light distinct but connected by divine design. And you, chosen one, are one of those stars. Every lesson, every scar, every act of endurance has shaped your brilliance. You might think your glow is small, but from heaven's view, it is part of a greater constellation. You were never meant to shine alone. Your light joins others to form divine patterns across the earth, a map of hope in a darkening world. Heaven speaks clearly through the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 3. Those who are wise will shine, like heaven's brightness. Those who lead many to righteousness, like stars forever. That is your identity. You are the light on the hill, the star in the divine expanse, the reminder to the weary that dawn still comes, that goodness still lives, that heaven still speaks. But light cannot fulfill its purpose if it hides. This is your invitation to rise publicly with quiet strength. Let your kindness speak. Let your faith radiate. Let your resilience inspire. The global call is not about one voice. It is about one vision, a world touched by divine love through ordinary people who said, yes. Each of us is a flame, and together, we are a wildfire of healing. Through shared stories, prayers, and compassion, we create a movement that cannot be contained. That is what this space is meant to be, a gathering place for the chosen. a sanctuary for weary souls to remember who they are. If this message resonates with your spirit, honor it by letting it live beyond you. Like this message, not for vanity, but as a simple way of saying, I am part of the light. Each click becomes a ripple. Each share, a spark carried across the world. You never know who might stumble upon your light and find hope again. Leave your thoughts below, not just to comment, but to connect. Your words might be the confirmation another chosen one has been praying for. This space isn't just digital, it's sacred ground where souls gather, where testimonies become torches passed from heart to heart. And if you feel the stirring to give, to sow into this mission, let it be from the overflow of gratitude, not obligation. Every seed sustains the flame that fuels these messages, allowing the light to reach further to prisons and hospitals, to lonely hearts and waiting souls. Your offering becomes oil in the lamp, keeping the fire burning through every storm. Think of it like tending a lighthouse. The keeper doesn't do it for recognition, but to ensure ships find their way through the dark. That's what your support does. It keeps the light steady for others who are still navigating their nights. Whether through a donation, a share, or a prayer, you are part of the keeping. You are a lighthouse keeper of hope. And as more join this movement, imagine what heaven sees: a web of light spreading across continents, touching strangers who will never meet in person but are bound by divine assignment. It is no longer a single flame, it is a rising dawn. So as you read these words, pause for a moment. Feel the warmth of connection stretching from your spirit to thousands of others reading this same message. Somewhere out there, another chosen one feels less alone because you chose to participate in the light. That is the miracle of this moment, the invisible unity of awakened souls forming one global heartbeat. The call is clear. Shine where you are. Love where others hate. Build where others destroy. Give where others withhold. Your obedience today could be the answer to someone's prayer tomorrow. The crowning moment. Chosen one, it arrives quietly, without thunder or spectacle. Yet heaven trembles with joy when it happens. You have walked the long road, endured refining fire, faced storms, stood through silence. And now comes recognition. The invisible crown that has been forming over years of obedience finally rests upon your spirit. This is not the crown of pride. It is the crown of purpose fulfilled. Heaven crowns not the loud, but the loyal. The ones who didn't give up when no one clapped. The ones who kept believing when the promise seemed impossible. You are one of those souls. You have proven faithful in the small things, and now God trusts you with greater ones. Your crown is not made of gold, it is made of glory. It carries the weight of every yes whispered through tears, every prayer offered in exhaustion, every act of kindness that cost you comfort. You were crowned not in ceremony, but in surrender. The moment you said, "Not my will, but yours," the heavens marked you, and though the world didn't see it, the spirit realm did. Angels took note, darkness recoiled, and heaven smiled. You have walked like royalty long before the crown became visible, because the true mark of kingship is humility wrapped in divine confidence. The crowning doesn't change who you are, it reveals who you've always been. You were chosen long before you believed it. The trials didn't make you worthy, they made you ready. Each wound was shaping the place where your crown would sit, ensuring that when glory rested upon you, you could carry it with grace. There's something sacred about this kind of coronation. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply radiates. You begin to notice that your presence shifts the room, not because of you, but because of the anointing you carry. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. Your peace proves you. You don't have to announce your authority. Your calm commands it. The voice of heaven echoes through the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres. They will receive the crown of life the Lord promised to lovers. You, chosen one, have persevered under trial. You have stood the test. And this peace you now feel is the crown of life resting upon your soul. It cannot be bought, borrowed, or taken. It is forged in faith, sealed in endurance, and sustained by love. The world may not understand it, but heaven recognizes it instantly. When heaven crowns you, you no longer chase validation. You no longer strive to prove your worth. You move differently. You walk with quiet confidence, not arrogance but assurance, because you know who sent you. You don't argue with shadows anymore. You simply walk past them. Royalty doesn't debate darkness, it illuminates it. But the crown also carries responsibility. It is not a decoration, it is a declaration, a symbol that you now represent. Heaven, wherever you go, every word you speak, every step you take, every interaction you have carries weight. You are not merely living your own story anymore. You are carrying the echo of eternity. People will look at you and see hope. They will sense peace in your presence. That is your crown at work. And yes, the enemy will try to challenge it. He will whisper doubt. Are you sure you're chosen? Do you really deserve this? But you'll know better now. You'll smile, remembering the countless times you've already faced those lies and survived. The crown doesn't make you immune to battle, it makes you immovable in it. Because once you've worn heaven's peace, nothing on earth can dethrone you. Look back for a moment. Every step of your journey has led here. The loneliness, the confusion, the discipline, the divine silence, all of it was shaping this very moment. You have become the living embodiment of resilience. You are not who you were when this began. You carry a royal stillness, the quiet strength of someone who knows they've already won. And yet, even as the crown rests upon you, you do not exalt yourself. You exalt the one who placed it there. Because you know this crown is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of divine assignment. Crowns are given not for comfort, but for calling. You are being released into a new level of influence. Not to dominate, but to serve. The new beginning does not arrive with noise. Chosen one, it unfolds with peace. After everything you have walked through, survived, released, and learned, heaven now opens a new chapter before you. The air feels different, lighter, filled with quiet promise. You are no longer standing at the edge of endings. You are stepping into a dawn written for you since the beginning of time. There is something sacred about starting again. It is not about returning to where you were. It is about stepping into who you have become. The path ahead is not a repeat of the past. It is redemption in motion. Every scar, every triumph, every lesson has become a map, guiding you into this new horizon. You are not beginning empty-handed. You are beginning equipped with wisdom born of pain, with clarity carved from confusion, with faith tested and proven real. New beginnings are not loud. They move like sunrise, slowly illuminating everything they touch. You will notice gentle shifts, peace in places that once held fear, laughter returning without effort, ideas flowing like rivers long dammed by doubt. This is how heaven works, quietly, consistently, powerfully. The same spirit that hovered over the chaos at creation now hovers over your life, whispering again the same eternal command, "Let there be light." All, and there is light within you, around you, through you. The darkness that once surrounded you cannot comprehend this glow because it no longer belongs to it. You have become light, chosen one, the living evidence of resurrection. You have risen from the ashes of your own story, crowned not by perfection, but by perseverance. The prophet reminds us in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This is your verse for this new season. You are not rising for recognition, but for revelation, to show that grace is real, that faith works, that light always wins. This rising is not forced, it is natural. Seeds don't strain to sprout, they simply respond to light. You are that seed, and the warmth of heaven's sun is drawing you upward. Look at your life now. The patterns that once trapped you are broken. The fears that once defined you are gone. The bitterness that once poisoned your heart has been replaced by compassion. You no longer chase validation, you live from assurance. You are not surviving anymore, you are creating, building, flourishing. The wilderness season taught you how to live with nothing, so that now you can thrive with everything. This new beginning is not only about what you will receive, it is about what you will become. You are stepping into divine maturity, where your words carry healing, your silence carry peace, and your presence carries heaven's fragrance. You don't need to prove your transformation. It speaks for itself. The ones who once doubted you will see the glow around your life and understand that only God could have done this. And yet, even in this new dawn, humility remains your anchor. You know the cost of light. You know what it takes to rise again and again. That is why you carry gratitude like armor. You've learned to celebrate quietly, to protect your peace, to recognize that every blessing is also a responsibility. The same faith that brought you here will guide you forward. There will still be challenges, yes, but they will not shake you as before. You've built your house on the rock, and storms no longer frighten you. You've seen too much of God's faithfulness to doubt Him now. You move with calm confidence, knowing that if He carried you through the fire, He will carry you into the future. You are entering a season of creation. What once broke, you will now inspire your work. What once silenced, you will now empower your voice. You will write, speak, build, lead, and love from a place of fullness. Heaven's creativity flows through your hands. Every action becomes a prayer. Every decision, a ripple of grace in the world. The new beginning is not a reward, it is a release. Heaven is releasing you into the world as a vessel of light, a walking answer to prayers you don't even know were prayed. You carry healing for others in your story. You carry wisdom for those who are still lost in the storm. You survived. You are proof that endings are illusions, that every death in the divine story is merely resurrection disguised. So walk forward. Chosen one, walk with eyes lifted, step steady, and heart open. Leave behind the language of limitation and speak the vocabulary of destiny. You are not waiting for life to begin. It already has. Chosen one. If these words have spoken to the deepest part of your spirit, pause before you move on. Breathe in this peace. You have walked the full journey from pain to purpose, from silence to song, from confusion to clarity. This script was not a coincidence, it was a divine conversation. Now, let this moment live beyond you. If any line here healed, strengthened, or reminded you of who you are, share it. Let it travel like a spark across the world, finding another weary soul who needs to remember that they, too, are chosen. Like this message, not as a gesture of routine, but as a small act of gratitude for the light that still burns within you. Leave a comment below. Your words might be the very echo heaven uses to reach someone standing where you once stood. And if you wish to stay connected, subscribe, not for the algorithm, but for alignment. This space is not just digital, it is sacred ground where chosen hearts gather, where words become wings, and faith becomes family. Together, we keep the flame alive. Together, we remind the world, light always returns.